let me take you back in time. The year is 1999. The horror genre is dominated by the slasher series, which contains serial killers wearing masks and dumb teens who can't tell the difference between a chocolate bar and a curling iron. Despite its cliches and many flaws, it was making a lot of bread. And from the wise words of Master Oogway,
life is like a sandwich. No matter which way you flip it, the bread comes first.
Ah, so wise. So, another film was released. Something that caught people's attention. Something that went beyond the grain.
This is my home, which I am leaving the comforts of for the weekend to explore the Blair Witch.
I'm real excited about this. Thank you for the opportunity.
I'm very glad.
I don't know why you have to have every conversation on video.
Because we're making a documentary.
Not about us getting lost. We're making a documentary about a witch.
And it's all because of me that we're here now. Hungry and cold and hunted. Just want to apologize to Mike's mom and Josh's mom and my mom.
Tell me where you are, John!
One thing that must be understood is I hate horror movies. But I don't find them scary. It's only really the jump scares that get me, or more so the build-up of the jump scares.
What the was that sound?
Everything else, like the sinister music or the creepy ghost with long black hair or the doll holding a knife, never really scared me. Just that one dun always seemed to get me. But a film that scared me the most was the Blair Witch Project. And that's for one simple reason. Nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. 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 Exactly. Nothing. There you go. I think you may have something here.
Hey all, Scott here, and this is bad. Real bad.
I believe it is genuinely one of the smartest movies ever made. Nothing is ever shown, and nothing is ever fully answered. And where that would be a huge detriment to most movies, the Blair Witch rides it into the sunset while having an affair with your mother. Our own mind conjures up our worst fears and places them into the narrative. Everyone imagines something different when they think of the Blair Witch. Not to mention the Oscar-worthy acting.
I was acting.
We're really able to feel something that most of us are lucky enough not to have ever felt before. And that's the fear they had for their own lives. It's impossible to believe that most of the acting was improvised, but it was.
Witches in days gone by were roasted just like my Vienna sausage.
It plays a lot on the innate fears of human nature, like the unknown,
What the hell is even that?
and isolation, which are prerequisites of horror. The Blair Witch is a movie that's open to interpretation. And that is a very hard thing to do, because you need to have a film that leaves you with unfulfilled answers to questions, whilst also leaving your audience satisfied. So there needs to be the right mixture of world building and character development, with an open ending that doesn't make the audience mind explode out of confusion. The Blair Witch tackles this brilliantly, with an obvious answer right from the beginning. It's the witch. Every event that happens fits the legend of the Blair Witch, but it answers the questions without any real detail. This is a good thing because it leaves it open to many different interpretations. To name a few, was it Josh's plan to kill them and was Mike involved, or vice versa? Or did Heather kill them, and this is her apology video just placed in the wrong time because the police found the footage and placed it incorrectly? Was it kicking the rocks as warned by the woman which started it all? Or was she the witch from the very beginning? And... hang on. Huh? Did they go insane and kill each other, or was it all in their heads? How big was the fish they caught? Was the entire film faked so the trio could start new lives? Were they killed by cannibals or a cult? Does this outfit make me look fat? The list goes on. And they all have the same answer.
That is the wrong answer!
Yes. But also no. Yesn't.
There's a lot of people who are asking like what the hell was in that bundle, and it was basically some teeth that we had gotten from a dentist, some real human teeth, and then hair. I think we cut a bit of Josh's hair, and then we wrapped it in the shirt he was wearing, like we tore a piece off. So that was kind of the thing in there, but it's great because it's so blurry and kind of, you know, out of focus and stuff that it looks, people have said that there's a tongue in there or an ear or a finger, so it's just cool that you know, there's definitely something gory in there, something that is bad news for Josh, but you don't know exactly what it is, and that's what kind of we loved about the entire movie, really.
Josh?
You know what I imagined when I was a kid? Like, imagine like the witch dragging him through the woods, like, and just like trying to like pull them to him.
I've got the witch yelling in his voice.
Oh,
yeah. That's where my mind goes.
Thank you for the chills.
Yeah, did you get a chill?
I did, right?
I just imagine her just going like this.
And she's like not moving, and she's just like standing. Oh my.
And like a sentence.
Oh my God. You're screaming out there in the alone in the dark. You've been gone for a couple of days. I don't know what's going on with you.
What if she's holding him up?
Oh God damn.
No!
What is that? Oh my God.
Oh, no. What if they got closer and closer to the sound and it was literally just coming from one of those stick guys?
Dude.
Whoa!
What? They all work with key moments of the film, because again, nothing is ever answered, but instead things are guided towards an answer. If I told you the Blair Witch was actually about aliens pretending to be humans as they go out into the woods to chuff a dart, but somehow get transported to the residence of a sexually aggressive dog, I probably wouldn't be far off. Well, maybe I would, but you never know. And that's the reason it's so scary, because none of it actually makes sense, and you always fear what you do not understand.
What the
Ooh, spooky.
You wanna play a little game?
The house scene is what made everyone poop their pants. There are many aspects to this scene that add to its whole terror. As Heather and Mike look for Josh, his screams move from the attic to the basement, implying that something isn't right.
I hear him. I hear him. I hear you. Josh! Come on! I hear him downstairs!
And that gut-wrenching ending as Mike stands in the corner very sinisterly. This ending can mean many things, but it does fit with what the public said about a murderer who would kill children in pairs.
Finally, one day, old Mr. Parr come down into the market and said, "I'm finally finished."
And what did he mean by that?
Well, I guess nobody knew at first, but the police finally went up on the mountain and they searched his house and they found the bodies of 7 kids from the area.
What he did is he took the kids down to the basement by twos and he made one face into the corner.
Really?
And then he would kill the other one.
This also had 4 different alternative endings, because the directors didn't know if it was a good enough payoff. One was violent, one was the extended version of the original, and one was just downright silly. But they made the right decision and went with their gut.
I saw it in the morning, which was very odd, and also I knew nothing of what it was to be, so I was sort of thinking, well, here we go for another screening at Cannes, blah, blah, blah.
This is a press screening for the Blair Witch Project, which is, it's sort of a mockumentary, I believe.
And so in I went, extremely blasé, sat mistakenly at the very front of the balcony section, and and was the first person out.
Oh my God. How are you finding? What do you think?
But I always feel that there's this sort of film between you and the film. It's like there's a protective layer, and don't know, sort of an embryonic sac, and you're all right because you're in there. But with this, it was just so immediate. I stuck my fingers into the sort of socket right at the beginning, and I couldn't take them out. I was like, ah! And it literally contorting myself in an attempt to sort of. I actually had the cliche thing where I was sitting there saying, "Louise, it's only a film. It's only a film."
But I think the most important thing to this scene is very simple. The screams. To define screaming, although you already know what it is, it's giving a piercing cry, expressing extreme pain or fear, and it's used so relentlessly in film, it loses its impact. But because there's little to no screaming in the Blair Witch, when that moment actually happens, it chills and echoes right into your ear, and puts you in her shoes, and immediately lets you know there is something there that we all should truly be afraid of. My grandma fully naked. This film was a huge success, but one thing that must be noted is one thing that was vital to its success. People thought it was real.
And I'm a pretty hard guy, pretty macho.
The movie was publicized with a Blair Witch website, which depicted it as real events that happened.
I just wanted the website to just kind of be kind of this investigative website that basically treated this case as if it were real.
And even had a mockumentary that aired on TV as a real piece of investigative journalism.
Well, Heather was probably one of the 2 or 3 best students that I've had the pleasure of teaching. She was committed, she was energetic, she was very creative. She had submitted a proposal to me to do a short documentary on the legend of Blair Witch. It was something I had never heard of before, to tell you the truth. I have harbored some guilt because as I looked back over the proposal later, I realized that I had neglected to notice that Heather had suggested going into the woods for a couple of days working on the film.
The only piece of evidence found by police was Joshua Leonard's car parked on Black Rock Road.
We checked the car over completely, never found any clues with the vehicle. We checked with witnesses that may have seen the film students, and we can never locate them.
And considering it was made in 1999, things like social media or the internet just weren't as prevalent back then. So it was an impossible feat to debunk any of it. Not to mention, the actors actually weren't allowed to watch the film, and were instead replaced with missing persons posters that were scattered across the streets of America. This was the ember that started the flame, as it sparked mirror sites and spread the word as people genuinely believed this was a real thing. And there's no better advertisement than word of mouth. Believe it or not, this isn't the first time this has happened. In 1938, a fake broadcast was announced, declaring the world had been invaded by Martians. This was an advertisement for War of the Worlds, which he later had to apologize for because people were sent out of their homes screaming.
Ladies and gentlemen, am I on? Ladies and gentlemen, here I am, back of a stone wall that adjoins Mr. Wilmer's garden. From here, I get a sweep of the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk and as long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit. About 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain's conferring with someone. Can't quite see who. Oh, yes, I believe it's Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted, and the professor moves around one side, studying the object while the captain and 2 policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief tied to a pole. Flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, what anything means. Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against a mirror. What's that? There's a jet of flame springing from the mirror, and it leaps right at the advancing men. It strikes them head on. Lord, they're turning into flames. Now the whole field's caught up by the woods, the barns, the gas tanks for the automobiles, spreading everywhere. Coming this way now, about 20 yards to my right.
The world's first troll. This movie has been known to divide people though.
Yes, I agree. Oh, shut up, Louis. Ooh. Who would have thought that?
You can't sit in the middle with this film. You either love it, or you hate it. The people who enjoy this movie are people who want more than to be entertained, and are actually willing to look deeper to understand the meaning. The people who don't enjoy it are people who didn't enjoy the Joker. They are people who sit in the cinema, they don't want to think about anything and just expect entertainment. And obviously the fact that they couldn't see the witch really bothered them. The Blair Witch is a testament to how far a film can go, with a good concept and talented filmmakers alone.
About this because I don't like scary things and I'm like freaking out.
And is a leading example of the found footage genre, and was actually what publicized it in the first place, and obviously sparked off films like Paranormal Activity or Cloverfield. The film was shot by 2 Florida Film School graduates who have never made a feature film before, and 3 amateur actors who went through hell.
They let us sleep the first night, and then starting on the second night, there was certainly a building of how much they were going to torture us, and how much was going to go down and what that was.
Here's what actually happens when you're making that movie: is it's been raining all day. You spent all day working, but also really arguing and being really uncomfortable, and you got rain in your boots, and you're cold, and they're not feeding you a lot of food. And you get in the tent, and there's water in your sleeping bag, and you're like, if I just stay here long enough, my body heat will heat up this water. You're about to fall asleep, and then there's noises of children outside the tent.
Oh, Jesus Christ! No, you're really more annoyed than anything.
So what's really happening is you're going, you guys, come on, man, we're done working, just let us sleep.
Well,
and then you turn the camera on and you go, okay.
We guided them through the woods with this GPS system, this global positioning system, that allowed the actors to remain isolated, but yet still in contact with us.
But the way we were directed was through little notes in film canisters, the old 35mm cameras. So that one would have Heather, Josh, and Mike's, our names on them, and inside there'd be notes, and the notes would be differing. They would create conflict through these notes. We weren't allowed to share the notes.
And we wouldn't know what each other's character motivation was. So a lot of the time, we would be conflicting in what our goal for the scene would be.
The budget cost was around $35,000. This may sound like a lot of money, but in the world of filmmaking, this is like a penny. You have to pay for lights, cameras, caterers, cameramen, boom mics and their operators, the actors, the actresses, that dog, the editors, the writers, the director, the marketing and the promotion and the distributing. So they used their minimal budget as a resource and its main strength, as they achieved so much with so little.
They knew they were doing something different. They knew they didn't have a whole lot of money to spend, and they knew they had to be creative in the way they were going to make a film.
Yeah.
And as actors or filmmakers or whatever, if you're going into something thinking it's not going to be that good or it's not going to be that successful, or why would you do it? So in that light, I think they're probably like, we're really going to try and hit this thing out of the park. We're going to try to do something different.
Ed and I both, try to do something different with a genre that we felt was kind of, maybe getting a little old over time.
We started talking about horror films and what kind of films scared us when we were little kids, and we had kind of the same horror films, The Shining and The Exorcist.
So we felt Blair was in that same spirit, something that was a psychological horror, which we feel is much scarier than, just getting a knife in the neck or something like that.
It shows how far creativity can go, as it made $250 million worldwide, and is the embodiment of less is more. And since its release, it's got 1 crappy sequel, 1 crappy remake, a full book series, and a video game.
But I mean, our big thing with Blair is that we would rather have somebody else ruin it than have us ruin it. And if we really don't have any good ideas, or if they're not going to let us do the idea that we want to do for some reason or the other, we'd rather let them have a shot at it and see if they can do something good with it. And if not, we can just say, hey, we didn't do it.
I'd give this movie a 10 out of 10. This isn't something I would normally do, because there's no such thing as perfection. The only films that come to mind when I think of rating it a 10 out of 10 would be The Good, the Bad and the Ugly and The Revenant. A perfect movie is something that has a great story, interesting world building, intriguing character development, fantastic audience engagement, becoming a prime example of its genre, and having little to no faults in said factors. And The Blair Witch ticks all of those boxes. Not just for how effective it is for its authentic realism and placing our own fears into the very movie, but how it changed the horror genre that was getting tired. It is truly something special and can never be recreated.
Hello?
Hey! Jaws made you scared of the ocean. Halloween made you scared in your own homes. Birds made you scared of seagulls, not just for stealing your chips, but also stealing your eyeballs. Final Destination made you scared of logs. And The Blair Witch made you scared to go into the woods. And Family Christmas made you scared of your family. Oh. No.
I've got fruitcake.
By the way, when The Blair Witch was a big thing, there was a website release called Mr. T vs. The Blair Witch. This is better than The Blair Witch Project.